Hello everyone. Today, we'll be seeing how fast Lilligant can beat Pokemon White version 2 challenge mode in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight into the video. It's definitely been quite a while since I last played White 2 challenge mode, but I'm really looking forward to get back into it again, but I have no idea why I decided to pair up two grass types with each other, Lilligant and Whimsicott. We're going to do Lilligant today, we'll do Whimsicott later in the week, but I'm really not looking forward to this. If you look at our level up set here on the left hand side, we start with Growth, Leech Seed, Mega Drain, and Synthesis, and then Teeter Dance at level 10, Quiver Dance at 28, which is going to be our best move, and then Petal Dance at level 46. The reason we don't get many evolution moves is because Lilligant is an evolution Pokemon. It evolves with a Sunstone from a Petalil, I believe. So yeah, that's the reason we don't get many level up moves, but fortunately we still get Quiver Dance, although waiting to level 28 is definitely not the funnest plan, but it's what we're going to have to work with. And if you take a look on the right hand side, you can see our TM learn set. Fortunately, it's not as squished as when we did Sableye and Mawile and Oras a few weeks back, but there's still plenty of moves to choose from. Some of the main noteworthy moves you see are Hidden Power, which we unfortunately cannot get because you have to get it in the Battle Subway for battle points, which is effectively banned because in order to gain battle points, you have to bring in more than one Pokemon. So technically your HM users are helping you because you're not supposed to do the Subway with just one Pokemon. If you could do it with one Pokemon, then maybe, but this thing doesn't need Hidden Power either way. And the other notable moves we get are Hyper Beam, Solar Beam, Energy Ball. We actually do get the TM for Swords Dance, but that TM is locked in the post game. Gen 5 really did not like giving you stat boosting moves via TMs. In the original Black and White, stuff like Swords Dance, Hone Claws, Bulk Up, and Calm Mind were all in the post game. And similar thing with this game, they're either in the post game or for battle points. But when we defeat Cheren, we will get access to Workup, which we unfortunately cannot learn, but we do start with Growth, so hey, I'm not going to complain. Other than that though, our coverage is effectively limited. We get like Giga Drain, Seed Bomb, but yeah, it's effectively all grass and normal moves from here on out. So yeah, that'll be lots of fun. Also, you may be wondering what challenge mode is. Well, in Black 2 and White 2, there are secret difficulty settings you can access doing some really weird methods. You'll have to look them up yourself. I can't really describe them, but in White 2, you can unlock the ability to do challenge mode, which effectively on all trainers increases their levels anywhere from 1 to 4 levels extra. But funnily enough, due to a glitch, even though the levels are boosted, the stats are still the same because in the game's code, all it does is just replace the level instead of coding two separate teams. So in some ways, you may think it's easier because you'll be gaining more XP because XP is based off of level. But what I think balances it out is that all of the gym leaders, Elite Four and Champion, have extra Pokemon and more held items. So I think the gym leaders being harder does cancel out, making it easier to train, but I don't know, you can be the judge of that. But anyway, throughout the early game, if you don't really know the story of White 2, you're kind of in a bad spot here because I'm mainly going to be rushing through a lot of the boring sections. I'm on Route 20 right now. I'm trying to go to the Flocacy Ranch to go do some side quests. As you can see, I'm playing in the fall. In Black 2 and White 2, you can play in 4 different seasons. The season you play in doesn't really matter in the run in the grand scheme of things, but playing in the fall can get you access to another rare candy on this exact route. You just have to come back with Waterfall, which you get after the 8 gyms. So if you ever need the extra rare candy, you can play in the fall. But I won't be getting it today, so anyway, I go to the Flocacy Ranch, take out the rival real quick, and then all the way at the back, I can rescue the Herdier and get the TM for Frustration. Since we're given this TM very early, it's literally our first ever TM, it'll actually have some decent power in the early game, so I will teach it. So why don't we go fight the very first gym leader, Cheren, back in Espirita. Cheren starts off with his level 12 Patrat. What I do first is I use a turn 1 Growth, and then the Patrat uses Workup. Growth and Workup are actually clones of each other. They both raise attack and special attack by 1 stage. and once I get a couple of growths in, I can just start sweeping with Mega Drain, keeping my health high, and then his final Pokemon is the P-Dove. It's his challenge mode exclusive Pokemon, but I can just use Frustration to two-shot it, and yeah, the fight was relatively easy, but the second gym, oh boy, Roxie is going to be an absolute nightmare. She uses poison types, and her ace is part bug, so it's going to 4 times resist grass moves. I'm really worried about that fight. Just outside of the gym though, Bianca does give us returns, so I will teach that later, and then I can go into the center and buy some potions and repels. And now I can go all the way past Flockacy, back into Route 20. I will be fighting pretty much every trainer possible, not only on this route, but also in the Burbank complex down south of Burbank. While I'm doing all the training, I will keep an eye out for HM users. I like to catch a P-Dove in the Burbank complex because right there is the highest odds of them spawning. And then in the Burbank complex, I try and look for an Audino for Surf. In the Flockacy Ranch, you actually can find Psyduck, but the problem is the 10% spawn, and if I don't find it naturally, I'm not going to stay there and keep looking for it because I think it's just going to be a huge drain of time, so I'm just going to have to stick with this. I continue training in the Burbank complex until I get to level 18. I do not believe this is anywhere near the correct level for Roxie, but I even was fighting wild Pokemon too, even the occasional Audinos that show up. I'm just gonna have to fight Roxie and just see how this goes. Roxie leads off with her coughing. I start off by using a growth. Venoshock does slightly around half, and then fortunately for some reason it just starts using weaker moves, but fortunately with Mega Drain I do have the ability to keep myself near full health. I go for another growth, it gets disabled, so now I'm going to have to go on this offensive sweep. I defeat the Grimer, and then on the Whirlipede, I use 1 Frustration, then Synthesis. The whole plan is to try and keep my health as high as I can with Synthesis, but unfortunately, I get hit with Poison Point from the Whirlipede. Venoshock does double damage because of it, and I get my first reset. After getting 4 resets total on Roxie, I realized I should probably train for a bit while more, so I go run up and down here and try and find Shaking Grass with Audino, just because in Gen 5, with how the XP formula works, the higher level you become compared to the opponent, you'll gain less XP, but Audino will consistently give good amounts of XP, so I'm going to have to train here for a bit. I come back to this fight at level 20 over the next damage rounding threshold, and the whole strat's just the same as before. I gotta use Synthesis and Mega Drain to just keep my health as high as is possible, and I just keep getting reset after reset. I'm just gonna skip ahead to the winning attempt. I end up beating Roxie 7 resets into the run. I knock out the coughing with Mega Drain, the Grimer goes down basically the same way, and then when I get to the Whirlipede, I switch to Return, which is starting to do more damage, and then fortunately the second Return gets a really good range. I get hit with Poison Point, but it doesn't matter. I beat her, and I finally get my second badge. We're not done with hard gym fights though. The next couple of gyms are going to have lots of problems. Burg with his bug type moves, and then Elesa's Emolga with Aerial Ace, so yeah, we're still going to be struggling for quite a bit. And I'm also going to struggle with trying to stay awake through this awful movie they have to show me every single run. I really wish I can just mod this out of the game. I'm sure the randomizer has an option for it, but I gotta keep things vanilla, am I right? So why don't we skip ahead until we set sail to Castelia City. As soon as I enter Castelia City, this little Harlequin here gives me a free bicycle. I go around, try and find 3 more of his buddies, and then when I go talk to the first guy, he will give me a rare candy. So while I'm in the city, I'm also going to be talking to the guy in front of Burg's gym, and then that activates a little side story where I have to go to the sewers and help Hugh track down Team Plasma. As I go throughout the city though, I am going to be getting a few more extra TMs. I get the TM for Attract, the TM for Rest, and the TM for Flash. And now I can enter the sewers to help Hugh track down Team Plasma. Before I actually go to Team Plasma though, I do take a detour through the bottom area of the sewers, and I can get this item, which is the Leftovers. This is effectively the quickest Leftovers you can ever get in any solo run, I think. So I will definitely use this, but in the early game, it's only going to heal like an extra 4 or 5 HP every turn, so it's not going to be like totally OP, but still, this will be a very useful item. I'm also going to try and fight most of the trainers here while I can, just because I am kind of worried about Burg. But honestly, Burg is the only notable trainer coming up ahead. The Plasma Grunts are kind of pathetic, so why don't we go skip straight ahead to the third gym leader, Burg. Burg has 4 Pokemon in Challenge Mode. He leads off with Dwebble. I start off by setting up as many growths as I can. Funnily enough, the Dwebble keeps spamming Struggle Bug and keep lowering my special attack, so I'm gonna have to go with a full physical set. So I'm gonna have to start spamming Return for most of these guys. I one-shot the Dwebble, the Carablast. Unfortunately, the Leavanny looks like it's either gonna be a range or not a guaranteed 2-shot, and the Leavanny does end up knocking me out. On the next attempt, the Leavanny actually puts me to sleep with Grass Whistle, which if you don't know what that move is, it's a virtual clone of Sing, so it's only 55% accurate, so I am kind of upset that move actually hit. Hopefully I can get an attempt where that move actually misses. And on the very next attempt, I do. The Leavanny doesn't put me to sleep, and then I can defeat Burg with a time of 43 minutes and 30 seconds. But however, we still have one more hard gym leader left at this point, which is Elesa, mainly because of her Emolgas, but we don't really need to worry about that right now. There's a few other notable fights I need to cover, including the very first battle with Colress. The route you fight him on in White version 2 always has Sandstorm up, so I do have to worry about chip damage. If you're playing Black 2 though, there's no Sandstorm on this route, but I just prefer White 2 just because I think White Kyurem is way better than Black Kyurem. But why don't we see how this fight goes? He leads with Magnemite. It'll always go for turn 1 Thunder Wave. It never takes damage from the Sandstorm. Plus his Magnemite has Sturdy, so it's always going to get a Thunder Wave off no matter what. And I do end up slowly dying here because in the Sandstorm, Synthesis is healing less and less damage. I think what I should have done was replace Synthesis with Rest, because I've actually learned during more recent runs offline that one of the better strats to do for Colress is to teach Rest early just to counteract the paralysis. I really should have done that this run, but oh well, I do end up beating him eventually, because once you defeat the Magnemite, the Clink is not that hard at all. It just likes to spam Charge and Shift Gear just for no reason. And I defeat Colress and he gives me a free protein. Nice. These vitamins are honestly kind of rare to come across in Gen 5. I can't do any vitamin buys until near Opalucid, where the 7th gym is, so I'll probably not be buying vitamins this run. And then while I'm on this route, I get the TM for Dig, mainly as an HM move for my Pokemon, just to serve as infinite escape ropes. I also go into this house right here, which has just a single lone woman, and then she will heal my Pokemon for me. I do this just because I still plan to fight a few more trainers on this route, and I don't want to backtrack to Castelia to go heal, so I'm just going to go into that house. And then I can pass through the Joint Avenue and enter Nimbasa City. I know for a fact I'm going to need a lot more training for Elesa, so I'm going to go ahead and show you my favorite training spot for her. I go inside the Lost Lorn Forest right here, and you can see this one guy right here. It's a Pokemon breeder named Pokemon Breeder Gallon. This guy is one of the best trainers to grind on, because in Black 2 and White 2, Pokemon breeders are rematchable whenever you reload the area, and this guy has a Tranquil and a Liepard, a middle evolved and a fully evolved Pokemon, so he will give a lot of XP, plus he's literally right next to the entrance, so while I'm on my bike, I can just go down, then straight back up, and immediately fight him over and over and over again. So this is going to be where I'm going to be doing most of my training. The other trainers in the surrounding area just really are not that good compared to this guy. I continue the training for quite a while. I train on Gavin until level 40, and then I can go inside the roller coaster area of Nimbasa, and then I can go inside the actual gym and fight Elesa. Actually, Karisora was in the Discord call at the time while I was doing this run, and he suggested grinding to level 40, which sounded quite extreme to me, but I think he might actually be right. Let's see how this goes. Elesa starts off with one of her Emolgas. I go for a turn 1 Quiver Dance, and Aerialise is not doing that much. So I think actually may have been correct, because Aerialise is only doing like a quarter. If I was like level 35, Aerialise would probably be doing a third to half. So I'm actually really glad I did the training. So I can get to +6, or at least as close to +6 as I can. I don't really see my stat modifiers up, because Pokebite does not really work with Gen 5 right now. So then once I defeat the Emolga, I can one-shot the Zebstrika, and the Flaffy, and the Joltik, and defeat Elesa very easily. So yeah, it was a very good thing I did all that training. It was absolutely worth it. Also, if you're wondering about the EVs that Gallon gives, Tranquil gives 2 attack, and the Liepard gives 2 speed. The attack isn't too useful, although it kind of is. It's kind of hard to explain, because I will have to be relying on physical moves for some fights, but mostly special because of Quiver Dance. The next major battle is going to be this battle with Motorcyclist Charles. In White 2, you have to do a mandatory triple battle, and the Pokemon that's first in your party is always on the far left side of the field. And then you can just have your HM users quickly faint, and then just take out his Pokemon one at a time. If you were doing Black 2, this would be a rotation battle, which would honestly be easier to deal with, because you don't have to worry about your HM users doing anything, but it's not a big deal. And then as soon as I enter Driftville, I go in this little farmer's market here, I get an Expert Belt and a dozen Moo Moo Milks for healing items. The Expert Belt boosts the power of super effective moves by 20%. So for example, if the opponent's weak to grass, the Expert Belt becomes a Miracle Seed, or if the opponent's weak to fire, it becomes a Charcoal. It's a bit of a very flexible item, so I will be holding on to this. Especially for the next gym leader, Clay. This is going to be the first gym where I have a straight up advantage against him because he uses ground types. So let's see how easily I can destroy him. Clay's team is kind of scary in challenge mode. He leads off with a Krokorok that does have Torment. If he hits you with Torment, you cannot use the same move twice in a row, which if you're trying to spam the same move does end up becoming a serious issue. However though, I don't waste my time. I one-shot the Krokorok with Mega Drain, the Onix uses Rock Polish, it lives because of Sturdy, and then I use a Return followed by Mega Drain to guarantee the one-shot, and then I can defeat the Sandslash and the Excadrill. I mean, the Excadrill does take a few hits, but what's it going to do to me, right? It's got Metal Claw and Bulldoze. Those are really not going to do much against the Lilligant. And now we've got 5 badges under our belt. However, though, the 6th gym leader is going to be the worst gym leader in the entire game. Skyla. She'll be using Flying-type Pokemon. And her Swoobat has Acrobatics, and she doesn't have a held item. So it's going to be a stab 110 power flying move. And I'm really scared about this fight, I'm not gonna lie. Axew even was when planning this run, because he mentioned that Lilligant can only be female, and Skyla's Pokemon are female, so that means attract strategies won't even work. But he did come up with a solution. Remember when I got Flash earlier? That is what I'll be using against the Swoobat. I'm going to be using Flash to lower its accuracy, which fortunately in this game, Flash is 100% accurate instead of like in Gen 1 when it was 70%. So it's effectively a sand attack for almost anyone who wants to use it. So the plan will be to try and lower the Swoobat's accuracy, and in combination with Synthesis and Quiver Dance, I can set up my stats to just defeat her whole team. But that's still a ways away, because right now I'm doing the mandatory Pokemon World Tournament section. I don't allow this in my runs either because you can grind for battle points here, but this first battle here is mandatory in the story, so I will be allowed 1 battle point, which can only really afford me a single vitamin, and the vitamin I choose to buy is a calcium. So now as soon as I leave, we have to do the whole Plasma Fragate stuff. The whole rest of the run from Mistralton really isn't too eventful, so I'm probably going to skip straight ahead to Mistralton City. As soon as I enter Mistralton, I go to the Pokemon Center to stock up on healing items, and now I have to go to the route north of this place. So there's a lot of trainers here I can fight for good XP, and there's also the entirety of the Celestic Tower, The Celestic Tower at the bottom floor, you can find Professor Juniper with a Lucky Egg. This will boost the XP I gain by 50%. I know some people may try and ban this item, but I just allow it just because if I don't allow it, the alternative is just going to have to be fight almost every trainer in the game, pretty much every run. And I think allowing the Lucky Egg does allow for flexibility because you have to decide, for some fights, should I just hold on to the Lucky Egg or do I need to replace it with something else? Because I've had resets in the past where I try to hold on the Lucky Egg for a fight that I shouldn't hold on to it to. I might need like the Expert Belt or something, and I can get a reset because of it. So I think it's a nice item to try and plan around, which is why I allow it. Plus, I even did a community poll a couple of years ago asking if I should allow it, and pretty much everybody said yes, so yeah, the people have spoken. With the entire tower defeated, I'm still going to need a lot of levels in order to take on Skyla, so I cannot go back and rematch Gallon because I'm just such a higher level than him that the XP gains won't be worth it. So I have to fight this breeder right here, Pokemon Breeder Marcus. He has a Ducklet and a Tranquil. The Tranquil does give very good XP, but the Ducklet, not so much. I did experiment with Gallon at this point, and when I realized just how much lower the XP yields were, I decided to just stick to Marcus. Before I go back to Marcus training, I go around and get some rare candies, including one in Anvil Town, which you have to take a subway train. Plus, all the way back in Espirita City, I can get the TM4 Energy Ball. I'm not going to use it right now, but this TM will definitely come extremely in handy later. There's also a rare candy inside the Relic Passage. It needs strength to get to it, but it's not that hard to find. Because my plan is to train as high of a level as I can off of Marcus and use all of my rare candies. Because here's the thing, once I get past Skyla, the rest of the game is going to be honestly not too bad. So I'm going to fade out now, and then when I fade back in, I'll be at Skyla, and you can see what level I grinded to. I used my rare candies before this fight, so I am level 58 going into the Skyla fight. Alright, here is the plan. On the Swoobat, I try and start setting up as many flashes as I can. Acrobatics is fortunately only doing a third, so yeah, level 58 is definitely the best level to come into this fight. It's what Axu suggested during this call. He suggested this high of a level. He told me he didn't do the calculations beforehand on the exact ranges. He just predicted 58, and he ended up being correct, because only doing a third allowed me to keep my health pretty high with Synthesis, and with Flash and Quiver Dances set up, I can spam Petal Dance on her whole team, and I actually first try the Flying Gym. So wow, okay, the rest of the run might be a-okay, although, I mean, there is Drayden, he could be a concern, I guess, but the 8th gym, Marlin, the water gym, definitely will not be a concern. I get on a plane to Lentimus Town, head through the volcano, and now I'm in Undella Town where I can challenge the rival to a battle. This is the first real battle since Flockacy Ranch, because I don't really count the PWT one just because of all the level caps. But with Quiver Dance set up on the Unfezant, I can just spam my attacking move on just his entire team, including the Embor. Because I always replace the grass starter in these runs, so most runs, the rival's going to have the fire team, which for this run happens to be a bad thing, but still pretty easy. So I can continue progressing through all these towns. I go through Lacanosa, and then eventually head my way to Opalucid. I'm not going to be buying any vitamins here. I can't see what my EVs are like, but even if I could, I really do not think I need vitamins. I think I'm only going to get vitamins with like really bad Pokemon, but if I'm doing something really bad, they probably did early game training anyway, so I probably can't even use any. Who knows, maybe during a run where I desperately need to know, I could just save the game, look in PK Hex to see what my EVs are, then buy vitamins accordingly, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. And now we are in Opalucid going into Drayden's gym. This gym is honestly, it has some of the scariest gym trainers. Some of these guys do either triple or rotation battles, and I definitely come close to dying several different times. Plus, on the rotation or triple battle guys, my HM users are just going to gain so much experience points, and there's really no way to avoid this time loss because you cannot even challenge them unless you bring in 2 other Pokemon, so Yeah, at least I had no resets in here, so let's see how Drayden goes. Drayden's first Pokemon is Lilligant. It's not doing too much damage, fortunately, but I just realized if I set up too many times, he does have Dragon Tail, which is a low priority move, but if it hits, it will force me to switch, so I have to try and remember not to set up as much. I probably should have just deposited my HM users. I think I should just start doing that in most runs from now on, but I'll definitely remember that. 13 resets into the run though, I get really good luck on Drayden. I'm able to set up with quite a few Quiver Dances, he doesn't Dragon Tail me, and then using Petal Dance, I can KO most of his Pokemon. The Altaria does take some time, but with the ability to heal myself with Synthesis, it's really honestly not that bad. And now at this point, Team Plasma freezes Opalucid. I've got to fight a bunch of Grunts, some Shadow Triad members, Zinzolin, who's actually kind of difficult because he uses Cryogonal, which is an Ice-type Pokemon. Plus, they do have Ice Beam, which fortunately doesn't give me a loss today. And then with all the Plasma people cleared out, I have to go to Undella Town, go underwater through the Marine Tube, and then I can immediately go fight the 8th Gym Leader, Marlin. Marlin is probably tied with Clay for this run for the easiest gym leader. I use one Quiver Dance, the Wailord uses Rain Dance, I guess we're all just dancing here, and then I one-shot it, the Mantine, and the Caracosta lives because of Sturdy, but I'm able to not hit myself, continue the Petal Dance, and everything else afterwards is a one-shot. So now, even though we have 8 badges, we still have 2 separate Team Plasma sections to go through. I have to go through Route 22 up to the Terrakion, get the Colress machine, and then I have to go through the little cave down here. I forget what the cave is called, but once I go through here, I have to get rid of this Crustle with the Colress machine, and then get on the Plasma Frege to do Part 1. In White version 2 for Part 1, you have to find the password key, and then talk to random grunts to get hints for the password, but I don't need to do that. There can only be 5 different passwords in a playthrough. It's either Reshiram with a capital, Zekrom with a capital, 2202, 7707, or 9909. Those are the only passwords that they can be. So once you get the key from this grunt, just guess it, you'll eventually get it. So then afterwards, I can do a multi-battle with my rival against Zinzolin. Funnily enough, with these multi-battles that Hugh helps out in, even if all of your Pokemon faint, Hugh can actually still win the fight for you. The only way to truly lose this fight is if you not only lose all your Pokemon, but he has to lose his too. I've almost never had it happen, and I hope it never does. In my rule set for Black 2 and White 2, I'm not going to treat this as a loss only because the rival can win the fight for you. Even if all your Pokemon black out, he just heals you afterwards and he can just win the fight. Although if he loses, then you have to black out. But now Part 1 is done. So now for Part 2, you have to go to the Great Chasm, where Kyurem lives, and in this part, I have to step on teleporters in order to activate 4 switches. If you're playing Black version 2, it's entirely swapped. The teleport pads are in the first part, and then Part 2 is the password. It doesn't really matter which you play either way. I don't really know if one or the other is faster, but this whole section does have 2 notable battles. I even have intros for them. So first up, we have to do our final battle with Colress. Colress leads off with Magneton, which does have the Eviolite, just because it will give it a defense and special defense boost since it's not evolved. It still has Sturdy, and it does paralyze me. Fortunately, its Flash Cannon isn't doing that much, and I did actually bring Rest into this fight. Rest is super helpful on the Colress battles, like I said earlier, because you can get rid of paralysis that way. And then I defeat the Magnezone, which also has Sturdy. It also has an Air Balloon, fun fact. And then on the Kling Clang, I just go ahead and use Rest and eventually wake up and knock it out. Then on the Matang, I go ahead and use Energy Ball, which I did teach in the place of Petal Dance. Petal Dance has just become too much of a liability, and I need the more consistent damage with Energy Ball without the chance of hitting myself in confusion all the time. So I'm very glad this thing can actually learn Petal Dance. Plus, at least it's not locked in the post game, it's in a Spirit of City, you just need Surf for it. But now we have to do the second major battle. We now have to take on White Kyurem. Yes, I actually count this as a major battle, because some Pokemon actually do struggle with him. Watch this. You may think you can just run away from the fight, but no, you actually do have to defeat White Kyurem. It's not an enforced rule, you just have to do it. But the main thing is, this thing does have Fusion Flare, and it has an Ice move. I can't remember what it is, I think it's Glaciate. So anyway, on the Kyurem, I use one Quiver Dance, it charges up, and then on the second turn uses Ice Burn and kills me. Okay, it's Ice Burn. Okay, that's the move I'm thinking of. So, yeah, I do get a reset on White Kyurem. I get another reset, and then fortunately, the third time, due to his random AI, I am able to defeat him, so now let's fight Ghetsis. He leads off with a level 54 Cockavagrigus. I use Quiver Dance, and then I have a Pecha Berry held so I can get rid of the Toxic. So now with +1 in my special attack, special defense, and speed, I can begin the sweep. Energy Ball just 1 to 2 shots almost everything on his team, even the Drapion, funnily enough. And then on the Toxicroak, same thing. I don't know if it'll one-shot the Hydreigon. And it doesn't, but fortunately, his Hydreigon in this game doesn't really have good moves. So I am able to defeat Ghetsis, and the Plasma section is over. The whole Team Plasma section on 3x speed, for me, usually takes like 25 minutes starting at Marlin. So it's kind of like the whole length of a single gym leader section. But now with Team Plasma gone, we can actually move on towards Victory Road and actually into the Pokemon League. Oh, check this out. See in this room right here, I use Dig. It escapes you actually into this part of the entrance right here. So you don't have to fly back to Hula Mao City. You can just go straight back in and enter Route 23 and head towards Victory Road. N gives me Waterfall, which is pretty useless in White 2. It's only really used if you want to get a couple of optional candies, like the one on Route 20 that requires it to be Fall, or there's one in the Lost Thorn Forest, but I don't need to get those. However though, there are some actual hard trainers in here. There's this one veteran trainer with a Gigalith with Sturdy. He's not that hard, but his next Pokemon's a Skarmory. Energy Ball's only doing a quarter. I try to set up some Quiver Dances, and then Aerial Ace just hits me for very massive damage. And even though there was a doctor just outside of this little area, which I healed at, the Skarmory still completely killed me. I did not expect him to give me a reset. I should have saved here, so I end up having to take the Blackout. And then next up is this Ace Trainer right here. She's got a Heatmore, which does so much damage to me with Flame Burst. I do end up not saving before this person. Why have I not learned my lesson at this point? The trainers in Victory Road here are just very brutal. I need to start saving before these guys, I swear. Fortunately, when I remember to actually start saving before trainers, I don't have any more resets or blackouts throughout the rest of Victory Road, and now we have to head to the final rival battle. This fight really isn't too hard for most Pokemon, although he could be hard today. He leads with Unpheasant. I go ahead and start spamming Return right away, and then on the Bouffalant, I use one Quiver Dance. I had no idea this thing had Mega Horn and was doing serious damage, and I unfortunately get a reset. This guy I did save before. Although during this run though, Axew mentioned that his Bouffalant has Sap Sipper, so it's actually completely immune to Energy Balls, so I would actually have to knock it out with Return. That's kinda bad, especially since Quiver Dance does not boost attack. It takes me until 19 resets into the run. I do end up having to leave just to heal at the Pokemon Center for more PP, but I am eventually able to win. Dude, do you know how bad of a Pokemon you have to be to struggle at that rival fight specifically? But still, the fact that that Bouffalant had Sap Sipper made it immune to Energy Ball was really annoying, but hey, we're at the Pokemon League, I can heal at the center, buy some full restores, and now I can take on the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit. The first Elite Four member I take on is Chantal, which is probably not the best idea. I probably should have started with Caitlyn. Her Cofagrigus does burn me right away, but I use this opportunity to set up a bunch of quiver dances, and then I can just use rest to get rid of the burn. And then once I wake up, I can begin the sweep with Energy Ball. Fortunately, I do outspeed the Chandelure with all those quiver dances because that Chandelure has the Choice Scarf, so its speed has a 50% boost to it, and it's probably going to spam Fire Blast on me. So fortunately, even though it had the Choice Scarf, I still outsped. Next up is the Dark-type Elite Four member, Grimsley. Grimsley leads off with a Liepard. It activates a normal gem and uses a turn 1 fake out, but it doesn't really do that much damage, although it having Aerial Ace is starting to hurt. I only have time for a +1 setup. I am level 80 though, so I'm pretty sure this will be okay. Although, the Bisharp does live in Energy Ball, but since I outspeed, after he heals, I can just 2-shot it for free anyway, although X-Scissor was doing a decent amount of damage. Next up is the Psychic Elite Four member, Caitlyn. Caitlyn in general is probably one of the easiest Elite Four members in here, maybe followed by Grimsley, but her lead Musharna really cannot do much of anything. It has an inaccurate Hypnosis, it's got Dream Eater, Sleep only goes for up to 3 turns in Gen 5, and then once I feel like I set up enough, I have to go through its very high special defense and eventually knock it out with Return. But once I finish it off, I'm still spamming Return for some reason. I really should have swapped Energy Ball. Oh wait, I can see why. I was having very low PP problems. I should have used an Ether here, but at the time I did not know where most of the PP items were in White 2. They're honestly very hard to come across, like Ethers, Elixirs. I really couldn't find them. I know where they are now though, but at the time I didn't. But at least I first tried her. Next up is the Fighting type Elite Four member, Marshall. Honestly, his throw is just really pathetic here. It's spamming Bulldoze and Rock Tomb for speed control, but I have Quiver Dance that just keeps building up my speed, and the leftovers eventually brings me back to full health, although the Mienshao does live and hits me with 2 bounces, one of which paralyzes me, and I end up getting a reset because of Bounce. You know what's funny? Even though Bounce is sort of inaccurate and only has a 30% chance to paralyze, I swear, every time I've ever been hit with Bounce, whether it's on Blaine's team in Fire Red or Marshall's team in Gen 5, it always seems to paralyze me. I don't understand how, but anyway, we've defeated the Elite Four. Now we've got the final obstacle, the champion of Unova, Iris. She leads off with Hydreigon, which does have Fire Blast, but fortunately since Quiver Dance boosts my special defense, as long as I don't get unlucky with Burn, I should be good. Then when I get to +3, I use Rest to get some of my health back, and then I set up a few more Quiver Dances and I begin the sweep. Basically everything dies in one hit to Energy Ball, minus the Haxorus because it does have a Focus Sash in Challenge Mode, but it just wastes its 1 turn with Dragon Dance, so it goes down, as well as the Lapras and the Aggron, and then last up is the Archeops. Energy Ball one-shots, and Lilligant clocks in with a real time of 2 hours, 48 minutes, and 32 seconds, with 20 resets at level 82, with a game time at the Hall of Fame of 6 hours and 54 minutes. Yeah, this Pokemon was absolutely terrible. The lack of move coverage, the fact we get very good setup moves with like no good moves to use it with, we had to use Quiver Dance, then Petal Dance, and Energy Ball. Like, Grass moves were the only moves we could stack with this thing. If we had access to Hidden Power in this run, I could have set it to like Hidden Power Fire, Ice, Ground, anything that I think would be good, probably Hidden Power Ice just to deal with Skyla, or maybe Hidden Power Fire for the Skarmories. The point is, it would have helped a lot, but it's a shame it's locked in the Battle Frontier. Or at the Battle Subway, I meant, sorry. Locked behind battle points. Although, if this was Black and White 1, Hidden Power is technically accessible, so if I ever did this in Black and White 1, I will have access to it. But for now, if we look at the leaderboard, this thing is in dead last place, like, by a long shot. Like, right above it is Charizard's time, and Charizard did pretty bad because in Gen 5, if you're weak to rock moves, especially 4 times weak, all of the sturdy users in this game have rock moves, and you can clearly see how bad that can end up being. So the fact it did like 15 minutes worse than Charizard should definitely tell you something. But this was a bad run, but it was nice playing Gen 5 again. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more, and you could join my socials or become a YouTube member. All YouTube members get access to all the patch files for all the backports we've ever done on stream. The next run that'll be later this week will be taking on White 2 Challenge Mode with Whimsicott, the version exclusive to Lilligant. This thing might end up being a bit better. You'll see why in the video. Anyway, I will see you then.